Wake up, America. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome to the rebellion. Welcome to Redacted. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And we've got a busy show for you today on the show.
What is that word?
I was doubling down on busy. I said I was going to say busy.
It's very busy.
It came out of very, very busy. Very, very busy. Welcome in. We do have a very busy show for you on this Tuesday as we are awaiting I don't know if we're going to see any diplomacy coming out of Tel Aviv, where Antony Blinken has arrived overnight to try to negotiate some sort of a ceasefire. If you believe that, I've got a bridge in Michigan to sell you, which is absolutely ridiculous. No, they are aligning themselves right now to get us into World War III. Meanwhile, we have 57,000 American forces sitting in this region as sitting ducks awaiting to be attacked and killed. Is this in the United States' best interest? Let us know in the comments if you think it is. We're going to deep dive this on the show today.
Plus, it turns out President Trump was right. FBI data does show that violent crime is on the rise. Most crimes are. ABC fact-checked him about that recall at the debates, but the FBI data that was released quietly shows that he was right. Will the media apologize? Should they let us know they were wrong? Will they fact-check themselves? We're waiting.
We'd love to wait for that. Yeah, exactly. And we're also going to talk about the CIA, new details about a CIA plan to roll out basically concentration camps inside of Gaza. Wait until you hear this unbelievable story. We're going to deep dive this. Yes, the CIA using mercenaries in Gaza to roll out concentration camps. This has been signed off by the Biden administration. We're going to deep dive that. Robert, good to see you. American in Belize sends greetings. Good to see you, Robert. And by the way, we'll do your super chats and Rumble rants a little bit later in the show. So nice to see all of you guys, and keep the comments coming. We love that you guys are interacting here on the show, and thank you guys so much for welcoming us into your homes every day. We are live every day, Monday through Thursday, right here on YouTube, on Rumble, on X. And I know that Truth Social just rolled out a new streaming platform. We're kind of looking into that as well. But
yeah. Do we need to be there? We'll go there. We'll go there. Where we need to be.
We'll be on all these platforms. Yeah,
absolutely.
We're happy to do it.
All right. Well, before we talk about the war in Gaza, we want to first tell you about our show sponsor, which is Ramp, which is a software that allows you to provide your business with an all-in-one, easy-to-use financial software platform to build a better and healthier business. So if you want to simplify your finance operations for your business across expenses, vendor payments, and accounting, then Ramp can be a game changer. If you feel like your financial software just isn't cutting it and you wish it were more user-friendly, more predictive, more helpful, well then check out Ramp, because you can get a $250 credit when you join Ramp. If you go to ramp.com/redacted, their software automatically collects receipts and categorizes your expenses in real time, so you don't have to. Ask Clayton how often we have fights about receipts. You don't have to do that if you're using Ramp, because then it's there. Now, of course, you always just want to be prepared, because the IRS is bulldogs. If they find an expense that they think is not legitimate, they're going to want to see some proof. You don't want to dig through shoeboxes. For that, you want to be prepared. Plus, Ramp saves you money. Businesses that use Ramp save an average of 5% per year, and it's easy to do, easy to use. Just get started, use virtual and physical cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. So again, you can get $250 off when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/redacted. That's ramp.com/redacted. Cards issued by Sutton Bank, member of the FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, we're witnessing what could be the lead up to World War III, and we've never been at a more dangerous moment in American history. A source just told me that this is way beyond worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis. You think, oh, the Cuban Missile Crisis is sort of the threshold where things, shit hits the fan. No. We're already beyond that point. We are way beyond that point. Right now, the United States is throwing its full support behind Israel's military actions in the Middle East. And last night, we just sent another $5.2 billion in emergency aid from the United States to bolster its air defenses, including the Iron Dome and the David Sling system and their laser system, which is under development. How do you as an American feel about sending your tax dollars to help with their Iron Dome and their David Sling system, which, by the way, didn't stop anything coming from Iran? Any of the hypersonic missiles? Nothing. Nothing could shoot those down. But you're going to send $5.2 billion there. And last night, we sent that money to Israel, and that's why Netanyahu is smiling this morning. This is all happening while American bodies are still not recovered in Asheville, North Carolina, and people can't get any assistance that they need. I spoke to a family from Asheville this weekend who told me it was unbelievable. FEMA didn't show up for 2 weeks. And when they did show up, they were messing with the supplies that had arrived from other Americans who had brought supplies in to try to help Americans. FEMA started messing with those supplies. They were there as eyewitnesses in Asheville and had their homes destroyed. 2 weeks ago, they didn't show up at all. It took them that long to get there. Any help. And these people are not alone. There's many, many more people like in America right now in Asheville dealing with this. Watch.
People who have small businesses downtown that thought they were going to get money from the Small Business Administration. The Small Business Administration was like, nope, that's FEMA. And FEMA was like, nope, that's the SBA. And so they're like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to submit both places. And then they got rejected. And now they've got to pay workers with funds that they do not have. So, I mean, I'm personally very concerned that all of these businesses that usually rely on tourism are going to shut down because they cannot make it without the tourist income, and the tourists are not here. And that's just the small businesses. The actual locals with homes, I feel like, is the most confusing bit because, I mean, I said on air that we did get a $750 check. But what I didn't say on air was that I submitted receipts of thousands of dollars of expenses. You know, like our generator was running for 16 days and it was using 20 to 25 gallons of gas a day. I mean, that's just hundreds of dollars just in gas, not to mention the chainsaw. Starlink cost was a couple $100.
And keep in mind that wasn't to have like a luxurious life. That was to keep our
the lights
our
on.
neighbor's CPAP machine going.
Yeah.
And food in the fridge to feed our family. So.
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, remember how people who were not needs-based received thousands of dollars of COVID relief money and then bought Corvettes with it, and the government was able to respond quickly during the pandemic? Where's that? I thought we were a technologically advanced nation.
No, we can't have that. But you might say, you know, you watch that Asheville couple, and so you're like, okay, well, wait a minute. You might say, Clayton, Israel has nothing to do with Asheville, North Carolina. It's totally separate. They're not related. And you're 100% correct about that. They're not related in any way, shape, or form. I mean, one is a destroyed American city where Americans live and work, and one is a wealthy country with a budget surplus, a nuclear arsenal, a massive nuclear arsenal, and a space force. They're not related at all, and that's the point.
Well,
American tax dollars should be going here, not there.
Israel can spy on those people as much as they want, though.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. And they're happy to.
Right.
Using their
so there's the connection.
Okay. They can use their Pegasus software to spy on Americans.
Yes,
okay.
That's true.
Yeah, that's great. So, or the people of East Palestine, Ohio, for crying out loud, suffering under the chemical spill that destroyed their city. Or the people of Maui. I mean, how many more? Give me more lists. People in New Mexico right now dealing with massive amounts of flooding.
We can spy on all of them.
But Biden is sending $5 billion so Israel can carry out a massive war and drag the United States into it. Just so you understand, right now, 57,000 American troops are stationed across the Middle East, all to support a murderous warmonger. Now, these Americans are sitting ducks while who are waiting to be pulled into a wider conflict. Many of these are small military bases that can handle only small arms fire and drone attacks, according to Daniel Davis, who's a 4-time combat veteran who's been to these bases and says Americans are sitting ducks against ballistic missiles and other attacks at these bases. Listen.
But our base security are for small arms fire. It's for maybe drones and mortars or small rockets, et cetera, something that a militia would have. We have some decent defense against that. We have no defense against ballistic missiles at all. None. Not even inadequate, just none. There's nothing that can stop those kinds of strikes. I have been screaming from every media platform I can get, especially on Fox News from 2018 onward to this very moment, that all of these troops we have in the Middle East, especially the ones in Syria, Iraq, and in Jordan, are nothing but strategic vulnerability points. They do absolutely nothing to help secure America. They're not performing any national security purpose that benefits our country. They are just points of vulnerability. And this is what I've been talking about from the beginning.
Yeah. So he says, I've been on Fox News. So he's screaming the echo chamber there, right? He's just going on places that are going to support the military industrial complex.
Right.
Basically telling people, get our men out of there, get our men and women out of these regions right now and bring them home, get these bases closed. In other words, these Americans are being used like pawns. That's it, sitting ducks. The Biden administration knows this very well. They've been quoted as saying the same for merely just a few months ago. In fact, the Biden administration was quoted in the New York Times admitting that, yes, these American forces are sitting ducks. Here's the New York Times. The latest attack on American troops in the region over the weekend resulted in no deaths. But President Biden and his advisors worry that it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time when American forces will be killed. Of course it is, because there's no other strategic purpose whatsoever. And that's not me saying that. That's military leaders saying that. That's combat veterans saying that. As Israel escalates the attack on Iran and Lebanon, all being helped by the U.S., by the way, our soldiers are placed in increasingly precarious situations. The Middle East is a powder keg, a tinderbox, ready to explode right now. And our involvement is not just military, but of course it's military, but it's economic, of course. That's the heart of it. Follow the money. Billions of taxpayer dollars, $5 billion to Israel, millions overnight. By the way, Secretary Austin was just in Ukraine handing out $400 million to Ukraine again.
They call it a surprise visit. Surprise. No one surprises me with $400 million.
Wouldn't it be great if Secretary Austin shows up in Asheville, North Carolina?
With a surprise $400 million.
Here's $400 million. What would $400 million do to the people of Asheville, North Carolina to help that community?
Run a lot of generators.
Help a lot of small businesses. Help people recover. I see some people here in the chat saying they're from Asheville, North Carolina. It's an absolute disaster right now. $400 million, though, goes to Zelensky. $5 billion goes to Israel. Where's the outrage? Every member of Congress is in on this, save like Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. Those are the only ones that are speaking out against this.
And Dennis Kucinich, who's running again.
Yeah, Dennis Kucinich and maybe Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's only a handful. I can put them like on one hand. Mm-hmm. Speaker Johnson, though, is fully in the tank for giving as much money as possible 100%. To Israel. They flew him there, gave him a cushy trip and all of that, put him up in nice hotels. And so then he's going to funnel billions of dollars to them right now. So there's zero benefit to the United States to support Israel and for Americans to support Israel and die for Israel. If you watch Fox News, and, that's the thing. You turn on the sort of mockingbird media right now, turn on any of these channels, and they're all saying the same thing. We have to support our greatest ally, Israel. We have to do it. You could turn on the morning shows, and then as the morning shows go into the second shows at 9 a.m. and then 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. and noon, all of those shows all day long say the exact same thing. They're all parroting the exact same garbage all day long.
With the same compromised guests who are military funded or military contractors or government research contractors. They platform the same people selling you a war. They platform almost nobody who is anti-war, pretty much nobody, unless they accidentally book Jeffrey Sachs.
Well, Daniel Davis was just saying, he's like, I was on Fox News trying to get this message out there that these Americans are sitting ducks in the Middle East, get them out of there.
Yeah, I was wondering if they cut his mic.
Well, apparently he's not there anymore. They're not having him on as a guest anymore.
Right.
Because that goes against their narrative. They want
junior
war.
Producer got in trouble for platforming him.
Yeah. If you watch Fox News, they're all saying the same thing, but they can't answer the simple question. When you tell us that we need to support our greatest ally because it helps us, how exactly does it help us? Well, the problem is they can't answer that question. Any of these fools and even alternative media people, they say the same thing. And guess what? They cannot answer the simple question. How does it benefit the United States for us to have Americans fight and die over there, or for us to send billions of dollars there? They can't answer it. They can't answer it because, as John Mearsheimer points out in his great book, I encourage you all to read it, called The Israel Lobby, there's no provable benefit to the United States. None. In fact, the opposite is true, he makes the point. It's crushing the United States to support Israel. It hurts us tremendously. Just look at the sanctions we've put on Russia, how it's hurt us. all of this is in an effort to hurt America. And that's exactly the point.
Well, it also inspires terrorism as well.
Right.
Because
so it hurts
they
us
see
physically.
themselves as victims of colonizers. They know that the United States is in lockstep. These are either Arabic countries or Middle Eastern, however you want to call it. And they are inspired to continually plan terrorist retaliations on us.
Right. David, can you put that last comment back? I don't know if it went away or if it's too late to put it back up there. Shauna Duncan says, reminds me of Albert Pike's letter to the Italian politician, Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871 about World Wars I, II, and III in the entire Middle East. Interesting. Okay. So, warning us about this years ahead of time. Exactly. Perhaps no one is better to make this point than my hero, Ron Paul. He released this video last night about his concerns over our involvement in Israel. Listen.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the weekly report. Why should we fight wars for Ukraine and Israel? When you take on the role of the world's policeman, don't be surprised when the countries who cannot fight their own wars calls 911. Likewise with Israel. Tel Aviv has, in response to the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack, launched a war to annihilate Palestinians from Gaza, invade and occupy southern Lebanon, and degrade the military of Iraq and Syria and take on Iran. But the Israeli military has nowhere near the capacity to fight so many wars on so many fronts, so it has increasingly demanded U.S. involvement in the conflicts. Already, the U.S. has provided some $23 billion in additional military aid to Israel and has employed U.S. military assets in the region to shoot down missiles and provide increased weapons and intelligence. But it's still not enough for Israel. To fight Iran with his significant military capabilities, Israel appears desperate to drag the U.S. military into the battle. The stationing of one or perhaps two THAAD air defense systems, each with 100 U.S. troops to operate them, is part of that effort. These 100 to 200 U.S. troops are illegally engaged in combat. But what's worse is that they are being used as a tripwire. U.S. and Israeli leaders understand that they will be considered legitimate targets for any additional Iranian missile attack. But as soon as American troops start getting killed in Israel, there will be a massive push for further U.S. involvement. Washington's response to Israel trying to drag us into its war with Iran should be just like with Ukraine. No more weapons, no more money. You're on your own. Make peace. That is what a pro-American foreign policy looks like. Our founders understood it very well and wrote about it often. It's called non-intervention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we forget about that. We don't listen to George Washington's message in his farewell address. Read George Washington's farewell address. People try to rewrite it all the time and tell us that it's not about that. There's some sort of bad. The isolationism is somehow a bad word. It's non-interventionism.
Well, no, you can see exactly how the media is in lockstep with the government if you read Rachel Maddow's most recent book, because she literally frames everyone who is non-interventionist as a Nazi supporter. That's the premise of the book. I've read it for you, so you don't have to read it if you want to.
No,
but literally, that's what she does, is she assumes that everybody who did not want their son to die in World War II supported the Nazis and Hitler.
So the timing of all of this is ominous. Right now, new polling out this morning shows Donald Trump winning. By the way, we're talking about this, about World War III, because no one else is. Maybe a few in the alternative media are, but no, I mean, the mainstream media is fully in step with this. And so we need to be prepared as people who are awakened and are not tied to this mainstream media narrative. I saw someone in the chat just a few minutes ago. Remember back in the day, you only had 3 channels you could flip through, and they were all on the same exact narrative. Yeah, now all of the cable news and all of the mainstream media are on the same damn narrative, the same exact thing.
Well, and remember, they went off at midnight. Like there wasn't this 24-hour crazy news cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put the American flag up. So the timing of all of this is ominous. Right now, new polling out this morning shows Donald Trump winning in a landslide. Like not even close. The deep state is desperate right now, trying to keep Trump out of the White House, and they'll stop at nothing. Even martial law, launching an attack against Iran, of course, brings the U.S. into the fight. It's the perfect cover for the Biden administration to take full authoritarian control. We've been warning about this. Who takes over the United States when the threat of an invasion happens? The head of NORAD. We don't need elections in the United States. We'll do it Zelensky style. You don't need to vote. You don't need to worry about it. Oh, you sent 15 million votes already in remotely. You already mailed your ballots in. Put those on hold. We're gonna hold off on stuff right now. We don't want Trump in the White House. Let's be clear. This is not about humanitarianism, humanitarian aid to Israel or security. It's about maintaining U.S. hegemony right now in the region and ensuring that the American corporate interests are being paid for and profiting from the aftermath of this. You've already heard about the interests of American corporations in Gaza and the plans to build condominium complexes and beachfront resorts and all of that natural gas money that's sitting off the coast of Palestine right now. Yeah, sure, it belongs to them, but maybe Israel and the United States could get their hands on some of that trillions of dollars worth of natural gas.
Oh, no, it was trillions in the 50s when they sold this idea to the United States.
So maybe it's 100 trillion now?
Right. It was 50 trillion then in 1950. Think about what it is now.
So why is Blinken there right now? Blinken's there because of money interests and seeing making sure that we're on the same page for this war with Iran. And then what does the aftermath of all of this look like? That's why Blinken is there right now. According to reports, Blinken's discussions are focused on post-war reconstruction of Gaza and the plans. A Gaza that, of course, is going to be rebuilt, not for the Palestinians, but for foreign interests. That's exactly right. Just like in Ukraine. Make no mistake about it. Where will BlackRock and Vanguard be involved in these discussions? Who do you think is going to get these lucrative contracts to rebuild the infrastructure? We already know Jared Kushner, who threw President Trump under the bus and aligned himself with Mike Pence. He's been eyeing up real estate deals and developments inside of Gaza.
Oh, and what's the opportunity? Well, the United Nations put a $ on it today with a report saying they've set back the economy of Palestinian territories by 69 years. They say 80% of all infrastructure there is broken. That includes schools, commercial housing, and residency, upwards of 80 to 90%. So there's opportunity if you want it.
Yeah. So the mainstream media is going to tell you that Blinken's there to promote peace, but don't fall for it, people. You know exactly. He's there to broker a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, Israel and Iran. But what has Israel done every single time that we've talked about a ceasefire? Every time we've said, let's have a ceasefire, the United States has asked them to do this. Ignored it. They've ignored it. In fact, Israel has escalated its military actions each time with the full backing of the United States. We want a ceasefire, but instead we're going to increase military actions and we want you to help us, United States. And we do it like little lapdogs. We do it every single damn time.
But when you see Netanyahu say, well, Israel supported a ceasefire, Israel offered peace, the type of peace that they are offering, if you continue to read their proposals, is peace with a permanent Israeli presence in Gaza and now Lebanon. This week, they said, our peace in Lebanon requires us to stay in Lebanon. What the F is that? That's not peace. That's occupation.
So again, U.S. veteran Daniel Davis this morning said that every time Biden has asked Israel to do anything, they've laughed at us and they've spit right in our face. Watch.
We told them don't go into Rafah. They went into Rafah. We told them take care of, and I'm talking from the beginning, use targeted intelligence-driven operations to minimize to the maximum extent possible civilian losses. They blew that off and instead wiped out entire sections of the city, destroyed every capacity that the entire strip, all 25 miles wide of it, to self-sustain. There's no capacity to do that now indefinitely for so many years into the future. Anyone who lives there is going to have to be sustained from the outside. They've not listened to us on that. We say we really urgently wanted a ceasefire in Gaza. They wouldn't give it to us. We said we wanted a 21-day ceasefire in Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. They wouldn't give it to us. We said we want a two-state solution. They spit in our face. Israel just effectively spits in our face, unequivocally, in your face says, no, there will be no two-state solution.
The reality is that Antony Blinken, this trip is not about peace at all. Wake up, people. Everyone watching this, you guys know. He's there to broker a ceasefire. Come on. No, he's not.
Sprayberry in the chat says they do want peace, a piece of land.
Yeah, it's all about land. It's a massive land grab, and it has been since the 1940s. Wake up. Just tell us what it is. Just be honest with us. If Netanyahu came out on television and just was honest, he's like, look, the reason we're ethnically cleansing all of Gaza and killing all of these Palestinians, it's not about Hamas at all. We created Hamas. As you know, we and the United States armed them and created them. All we want is their gas. We want their land. There's a lot of beachfront property right here that we want. We would at least say, hey, okay, at least you're being honest with us. Stop pretending that it's some holier than thou mission. We would understand that. And the reason we stood down on October 7th and allowed them to attack us for 7 hours and we didn't respond, it's because this was a perfect opportunity. It's a perfect catalyst for us to go in and steal as much land as possible. Don't lie to us. We're not stupid.
We needed martyrs.
And then you start throwing around words like anti-Semite if you call this out. Stop using that garbage. You don't need it. We're better than that. Just be the truth. Just tell us the truth about why you want this land. We understand. You want to kill all these people because you want the land. It's not about Hamas. It never was. It was always about the natural gas and the resources and the beachfront property. The reality is that Antony Blinken's trip is not about peace at all. It's about positioning American interests for post-war spoils and reconstruction. It's about coordinating the world war that is about to be fully unleashed in just 14 days from now. We got an election, 14 days. So when were they going to launch this attack on Iran? Is it going to happen right before the election so they can announce martial law? What are they going to do? What is the plan here? Americans are being used right now as cannon fodder in all of this. Listen to Daniel Davis on this.
Now, one wonders why these guys here are so eager to be sending American troops, American ammunition, American warplanes, American naval assets, etc., to be used by Israel for whatever they want to do, and oblivious to the fact that it's dwindling down our resources, dwindling down our stocks of key weapon systems that we may need if we get sucked into a war, and potentially putting at risk American troops in the area. That's one of the things that just really irks me about not only are these guys wanting to put Israel first using American assets and American personnel, they're unconcerned that American troops could be asked to die for Israel's country, not for our country, not for our national defense.
So ask yourselves, should American forces be used as cannon fodder in the Middle East? No strategic value whatsoever for Americans to be in this region. 57,000 of them we're live right now on this Tuesday. We are live right now. There's thousands more ready to be deployed and heading to this region. Should they be killed for Israel's interests, for this war that the Biden administration is actively tied to with Israel right now? Let me know in the comments below. Where do you come down on this? We've got more news to get to here on your Tuesday. We're going to look in just a moment at the FBI crime data that we saw earlier this year come out. And now, President Trump the other night in the debate called it out and said it's fraudulent. And ABC News fact-checked him about it. Oh, well, now we have the real data from the FBI. And it turns out, well, they lied. I'm sure it's shocking to you that the FBI lied about this. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Plus, the CIA is running secret concentration camps, or they're about to. And we'll tell you where that's happening in just a moment. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at ARMRA, because they are sustainably sourced from grass-fed cows, family-owned dairy farms throughout the United States. And what are they doing? They're using their overflow colostrum, ensuring the calves' needs have always come first and only the surplus waste is collected and upcycled. And guess what? ARMRA allows you to strengthen your immunity, your gut health, improve your fitness and metabolism, enhance your skin and hair radiance. So what is colostrum, by the way?
It is the first... it's your pre-milk is what they call it. It's something that you make when you're nursing or lactating, and it helps your baby. It's basically the best nutrition that a mammal can make. And if you've ever nursed a baby, you know what it is. It's not quite as thick as the milk. I could go on forever about what it feels like to. I'll not.
Well, you know more about this than I do,
Okay.
and this is why. Yeah, and so this is why it's amazing. And they have a cold chain biopotent pasteurization technology to preserve the colostrum in their formula, and then it's be able to use on your hair and in your face and everything else, right?
Yeah, it's basic. It's like a prebiotic. It is a natural supplement, and so what they've been able to do is, obviously, since you probably don't have someone lactating around you to make this for you, is that they have been able to sustainably source it from cows, and it is something that you don't take from a calf. It's extra. It's overflow, but it has been shown to be connected with healthier skin, healthier hair, healthier gut, and overall immunity. So you can try it for yourself if you'd like. You can go to tryarmra.com/redacted. And if you go there, you get 15% off your first order. So that's tryarmra.com/redacted. And again, you get 15% off if you use our link and let them know that you learned about this on Redacted, probably more than you needed to know about lactation. But I could talk a full moon about it because I nursed 3 babies. So.
I love what you said. Many of you probably don't have people lactating near you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
As far as I know,
You may. No.
Speak for yourselves. Someone asked, "Can I drink it?" No, I don't think you.
They supplement it, but babies get it in form like that. So, I have a lot of experience with it.
David's a huge fan. I mean, separate from colostrum, but David's a huge fan of drinking raw milk from the farm. And in fact, you just posted a picture in our private chat today with all of us. And I guess in North Carolina, the way to get around this is they're posting, what was it? It was canisters of raw milk in the gas.
Yeah, it was raw milk. It says not for human consumption on the front.
Because
because a lot of people claim that it's not good for human consumption. I mean, I could get it when I lived in Washington, I got it at the grocery store. Like you could get it right there in the local grocery store, and they didn't have to do any trips like that. But like in Colorado, you have to join like a co-op. In New Jersey and places, like there are people that are arrested for bringing it across the border. So it's just got a very bad reputation, but
it's crazy
for no reason. Yeah.
All right, there's your milk break. Grab some cookies. Grab some cookies and milk on your redacted
Somebody
milk
says,
break.
I don't have anyone lactating around me. I was nursing in a bookstore, and I went to pay for the book after I had put my child in the carrier. And then I just kept going. So I lactated on my arm while I was paying for the books. And the books, I don't know why I'm telling this story, but the clerk was like, "What's happening here?" So
is there a leak in the roof?
I was like, sorry, just keeps coming. So if you know, you know. This is something that if you've ever been there, tell me.
Well, and here at Redacted, we're proud to talk about real women.
Sure,
real women lactate.
That's what happens. So
in Kamala's world,
you started it.
In Kamala's world, men lactate.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about crime data. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
I don't know how we transition from that, but we're going to do it. It turns out that President Trump was right when he said this in the debates about how the FBI's crime data was wrong.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you.
Okay. Turns out he was right. They have not issued a correction, though. It's not on the transcripts of the debate. It's not on ABC News. I wonder why they didn't tell us that, in fact, he was right and the FBI's crime data was artificially low. Well, how do we know this? Because the FBI quietly revised that crime data to show that, indeed, crime has been up, not down, since 2021. And we're talking about here is crime from 2021 to 2022. The FBI completed that collection in 2023 and reported it to us in 2024. So it takes them a while. Well, the numbers originally published in September showed that violent crime was down by 2.2%, but instead, the Trump campaign had warned when we see those numbers, and experts had agreed that the numbers would be incomplete because the FBI changed their reporting system in 2021, and that led to fewer precincts reporting crime statistics. That drop in participation required the FBI to rely heavily on estimates for missing data, magnifying the potential for error. Now, is this normal that they may give us one number and then revise it so drastically? It is not. And in fact, Real Clear Investigations interviewed 2 professors who study this data. Here's what they said about that revision. One of them said, I've checked the data on total violent crime from 2004 to 2022. There were no revisions between 2004 and 2015. From 2016 to 2020, there were small changes, but less than 1 percentage point. This is a huge change, especially without an explanation, makes it difficult to trust FBI data. You think? Another professor said it's up to the FBI to explain what they have done, and they haven't explained these large changes. And in fact, the FBI did not respond to requests from them or the New York Post, who had been covering this. Now, not only has the FBI not commented on this, but the media has not either. Why haven't we seen major news headlines like this when the data originally showed a drop in crime? Well, USA Today, furthermore, they lied when they said this, explaining the drop in crime. It says FBI officials declined to comment about when Trump's claims in a call with reporters, but the agency's methodology, they say, has been consistent. Well, that's a blatant and false lie. They could have just done a little digging to know that, because on January 1st, 2021, the FBI stopped accepting data through what they called the summary reporting system and started using a new system that they called the National Incidence-Based Reporting System. About 35% of the country's law enforcement did not use this when they published this crime data in September. According to the New York Post, that's the first time that crime reporting was below 70%. So USA Today should not have told us that the methodology was consistent. That's a clear lie. They don't seem to care. They also could have told us that crime was up when the FBI switched programs. This is from the New York Times 3 years ago. It says that crime was going up, and then the FBI surprisingly got to change how they gathered that data, and then poof, suddenly crime is down. That's weird, right? Data doesn't look good for you? Let's change how we collect the data. Now, it's worth noting that the Biden-Harris administration can hardly be blamed for this change in 2021 because it happened in January. They've not been inaugurated yet, but they also cannot take credit for a decrease in crime because that clearly has not happened on their watch. In fact, crime has gone up. Here's what the FBI's own website shows. This is from the UCR's Crime Data Explorer, which the FBI links to on its website. It's an interactive tool. You can do whatever you wish with it. Go there and find it for yourself. And that's pretty clear. Crime's up. We're looking at between 2019 to 2000. What years do we have here? I think
even my 8-year-old could see that crime is up on this chart.
That's not down. Yeah, no. And of course, now this is a more complete data set, but it doesn't include unreported crime, obviously, because how could you include that? So we should probably estimate that the numbers are bigger due to unreported crime. And here is how Real Clear Investigations laid out these revised numbers based on the types of crime. So you see the types of crime that is more prevalent: property crime rate, aggravated assault, violent crime, clearly up, motor vehicle theft, up, especially if you live in California, robbery, burglary, pretty much everything up, and nominally murder and non-negligent manslaughter, but up at all is bad when it comes to murder. I'm against murder. So why would the media not want to run with this? Why wouldn't they correct themselves? Why wouldn't they tell us, you feel like crime is up? Because it is. We told you it was down. Turns out it's not. That was incomplete reporting. We should come back around on that. Why don't they do that? Because it would look bad for the Democrats, obviously, who have supervised this increase in crime. And they don't really care about the type of people who are victimized by crime, the type of people who don't have doormen, who don't have limousine service, right? They don't care. In fact, that was apparent when J.D. Vance spoke to ABC News last week about violent gangs in Aurora, Colorado. Watch the anchor, Martha Raddatz, show how little she cares about the actual victims of gang violence.
But I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Okay, let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said. I want to move on to
just a few apartment complexes, no big deal.
A few apartment complexes that the mayor did not seem was invading the entire city.
She's betraying the media bias here that she does not care at all about the type of people who would rent an apartment in Aurora, Colorado. If it had been a high rise with a doorman in New York City,
her building,
or Washington, D.C., and it was just a handful of those luxury high rises, she would react differently. Just a few in a city that's so far away from me. They don't have doormen. They're working class people. I don't care. They're being terrorized. It's just a few.
Yeah,
no biggie.
The
high rise. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and she had this look on her face when she first said that, like, "Ha, I got you," and he just shuts her down.
Yeah.
Like she just this smug look on her face.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying she would be outraged. There's a high-rise building that sits right next to ABC News.
Mm-hmm.
Like every ABC News anchor lives in. It's right next to the Barnes & Noble. It's right across from the ABC studios in the Upper West Side, where Regis Philbin, like right down the street from where Regis Philbin used to live in that high-rise. Like if that building was taken over,
that would be a problem, I'm sure.
Outrage.
Right.
But they'd never get past the doorman, and the NYPD would be right there to take care of them.
Well, here's why. I've told you this. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. They are broadcasting from the Capitol. This is the Hunger Games. They don't give a crap what happens to the violence in the districts because they can live safely in the Capitol. The Hunger Games showed it to us. What do they care if we have to send our kids to fight and die? Doesn't matter. They literally don't care. That's why they won't tell us that we live in a more dangerous place, because they don't want us to vote to change it. Do you have any other explanation? If you do, let me know.
No, it's like my old boss back when I used to work at Fox News, my old boss, Roger Ailes, he, in a meeting, he told me, he said, when I created this network, people used to make fun of the flyover states. He used to call them flyover states. And he used to make him so angry. He's like, that's America. What you're talking about is you're flying over these people. That's those are Americans. You're flying over Aurora, Colorado. You're flying over these people. And we need to have people who speak for those people in the United States. And those people, the David Muirs of the world, the Martha Raddatzes of the world, they don't speak for Americans.
Clearly not.
They speak for liberal Upper East Side, Upper West Side elites in New York City.
Coastal elites. They don't care if your apartment complex in the middle is hijacked by gangs. Sorry. Hate it for you.
Coming up here on the show, we're going to talk about the CIA, your American tax dollars, once again, going to Israel in a way that you won't believe. Yes. CIA is now in the Biden administration signed off on this. The CIA using mercenaries in order to carry out and create concentration camps. You're not going to believe this. we're going to bring this story to you. Now, this is something you're not going to see on ABC News. And by the way, you won't see it on Fox News. You won't see it on MSNBC or any of the mainstream media. We're going to bring this story to you in a second. But first, I want to talk about our friends at PDS Debt, because a number of years ago, when I was out of college, University of Pittsburgh, one of the first things I did when I got to University of Pittsburgh was stupid. I got a credit card. I remember getting a $500 credit card at the student union, because they prey on students, right? A lot of these big banks, they prey on students, and you get into credit card debt. And I was not very good with money when I was younger. It took a long time for me to really learn how to get good with money. I went into debt, bad debt. I had student loan debts, but then I also had credit card debt. I think for 10 years later, I was still paying for a Chinese food dinner that I put on my credit card. That's how crazy this stuff can be for people. And they're predatory. I know our friend Tucker Carlson says it's one of the most predatory, disgusting things in America. They 23% interest rates they charge you, and you can't get out of this debt. It's horrible. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, PDS Debt has a solution for you. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies. There's no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair credit is accepted. You can save more while paying off your debt in the fraction of the time. So, PDS Debt is really fantastic. If you want to stop waiting and start saving, get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/redacted. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/redacted. That's pdsdebt.com/redacted. Is the CIA running secret concentration camps in Gaza? Well, not so secretively anymore. Our next guest, journalist Dan Cohen from Uncaptured Media, has uncovered a bombshell about what the CIA is actually doing in Gaza, fresh off his recent trip to Israel. Dan Cohen joins us now. Dan, when I saw your report, my jaw hit the floor. The CIA running concentration camps in Gaza, what did you find?
Yeah, Clayton, that's basically the plan. Right now, the U.S. and Israel have approved a plan to send 1,000 CIA-trained mercenaries, American soldiers, former British soldiers, French, Kurdish soldiers, to create what are concentration camps in the Gaza Strip. And they're basically what they want to do is clear out all resistance in the north of Gaza, which of course is being ethnically cleansed, and we're seeing daily massacres in this area right now. And they want to take a village, a neighborhood called Al-Tatra in the northwest of Gaza, and use this as basically a test case to take Palestinians, concentrate them inside neighborhoods and surround them with walls that they can only enter and exit with using biometric data. So whether that's fingerprints or their eyes, their pupils, their retinas, who knows what it might be. They don't specify, but this is a very modern, technologically sophisticated version of the same kind of concentration camps that what was in Vietnam the U.S. used. They called the Strategic Hamlet Program, or was used in Iraq and Afghanistan, where they called it gated communities was the nice flowery term they used. And so they want to roll this program out. It's been approved by Jake Sullivan, the White House National Security Advisor, who is basically running the foreign policy of the United States, because obviously Joe Biden isn't and Kamala Harris isn't. So this unelected bureaucrat, this war hawk who famously said Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria to Hillary Clinton, is now running our foreign policy and has approved this. So it's being done through a private company run by an Israeli-American businessman named Moti Kahana. His company, he calls the Uber for war zones. So privatized version. So they can send these mercenaries to basically surround these walled off ghettos, and people living inside can only get humanitarian aid if they submit their biometric data and they're approved. The others who don't will not receive any aid, meaning food, water, medicine, anything like that, and presumably those ones will be killed. So this is the counterinsurgency model that the U.S. has applied again and again in the post-World War II era that has failed repeatedly. And I think it's likely to fail in Gaza, as Palestinians are sure to resist.
So let me see if I get this right. The United States government under Jake Sullivan and the warmongers in Washington, D.C. have approved a plan that basically funnels millions of dollars to a private company that's going to use former American soldiers, CIA operatives, French soldiers, British soldiers, etc., mercenaries, bring them together to execute this plan, and then they can basically sit back and wash their hands of it because it's being run through a non-governmental organization, right? No, the CIA is not involved in this. We've just simply cut a check for it.
Right, exactly. And the man who's actually designing the entire thing, his name is Justin Sapp. He's a longtime American CIA operative official who was one of the first, who led the CIA paramilitaries when the U.S. invaded Afghanistan after the 9/11 attacks. And now this guy is tasked with designing this whole plan for Gaza. And if it's successful in this one neighborhood in Gaza, this is what they want to do throughout it. Now, I reported last November 2023, that the U.S. military's top publication had published an article by a guy named Omer Dostri, who then went on to become Benjamin Netanyahu's spokesperson. And this article called not only for the total destruction of Lebanon, but laid out a few different options for how Israel should handle Gaza, for what to do in the long term, whether that they're try to install the Palestinian Authority there, try to install some other sort of collaborator regime, try to have some kind of international mandate, get Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain to send troops in there to basically occupy for Israel. But none of those countries, or to have a direct Israeli occupation itself, but none of those countries were willing to do it because it would look so bad for them to their populations. But the U.S. is now not only footing the bill, but going to do the bidding, do this bidding of Israel in Gaza by creating these concentration camps for Palestinians. So, this is where our tax dollars are going, $200 million to be exact. This plan has been in the works for, certainly they've been talking about it. That article demonstrates the idea has been circulating of what exactly is going to be the long-term solution, some kind of way to pacify the Palestinians of Gaza. But this specific plan has been in the works since February of this year, and it's basically a U.S. plan that Netanyahu has finally agreed to.
Even some liberals are being slammed for their honesty about what's been happening in Gaza. Writers like Ta-Nehisi Coates, who've admitted to the apartheid state in Gaza, and others. You have Roger Waters, who's not a liberal by any stretch of the imagination, formerly of Pink Floyd, who's been speaking out with his own eyes. You've been to Gaza, you've been to this area, you know it well. So this idea that these people are free, that they'll be free to sort of walk around, is a joke, right? And they will be under basically an authoritarian security state in order to live their lives.
That's exactly what it is. And it's, I think during the COVID era, it's what so many Americans, particularly, who are skeptical of the COVID regime, and particularly among conservatives and those who consider themselves patriotic and demand their liberty, they became outraged by this idea that we're going to have this biometric security state that would control every aspect of our lives. But the Gaza Strip is, for many years, has been a laboratory, a testing ground, not only for Israel, but for the international corporate interests. During the COVID era, Israel, a Pfizer spokesperson said that they used the Israeli population as a sort of laboratory for their products. The West Bank is where Israel tests its repression tactics and exports those around the world, especially to the United States. And the Gaza Strip is basically the genocide laboratory and is being used now to develop this strategy. And if you think that your American passport, your American citizenship protects you, you should think again, because this is the exact kind of thing that they want to impose on any kind of population. It doesn't have, whatever it is, if it's racial or any kind of thing, it doesn't have to be a racial thing. It can be anybody who decides, they don't want to take this jab in their arm or whatever it is. Now you're considered a threat to society, and you're going to be treated like a Palestinian stuck in some concentration camp where you can't live unless you submit your biometric data. You can't get food and water and medicine unless you submit that. So this is the exact kind of thing that we have to stop over there. Even if you don't, if you're not sympathetic to Palestinians or whatever, this is the kind of thing that will eventually be imposed on us. Palestine is the laboratory for all of the worst things that our ruling class wants to do to us.
Yeah, and we've seen the same also rolled out in Ukraine, right? We've seen similar, as you've covered, the DIA app and being able to monitor every movement that you make. And we use these in war zones, and that's where the CIA and, of course, the United States government loves to swoop in and use these as sort of a petri dish, if you will, in order to test these things. So they'll be using them against these Palestinians, but of course, this has always been about a land grab. It has since 1947. Israelis who want this land, trillions of dollars in minerals and wealth that sits off the coast of Palestinian lands. The plan to ethnically cleanse this area has been in place since the late 40s. This has been the plan all along. And we saw over the past 24 hours, we see members of Netanyahu's Likud party in southern Gaza basically holding a conference for their plans for resettling of Gaza by bringing Israelis into Gaza. So Anthony Blinken just arrived there for his sort of post-war plans, it seems, to line up with Netanyahu. The plans are to take over this entire area, and they're even putting out T-shirts. I mean, Netanyahu's not even being quiet about their plans for Gaza. So the idea is that Israel basically will take over Gaza, correct me if I'm wrong, and they will have these sort of pockets of concentration camps then spread throughout. Is that the plan?
That's certainly what it looks like. I mean, I haven't seen anything on paper explicitly saying that, but we clearly know that the U.S. and Israel are seeking to create these concentration camps, and that's going to be rolled out this week, at least the first one. They'll attempt to do that. And yes, we had on Monday a conference of powerful Israeli government officials, including Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national security minister, one of the arguably the most powerful and influential person in the Israeli government, in Israel itself, partaking in this conference, along with several other officials who are actually from Netanyahu's Likud party, who are openly saying that we are going to build settlements in Gaza, just as it had done before. It's not the first time. There were settlements built after 1967 that existed until 2005, when Israel unilaterally withdrew from Gaza and then put a siege on Gaza in order to basically say, well, we're going to give up this tiny piece of land and concentrate a huge amount of the Palestinian population inside it. So it's a very small sacrifice, and then focus our resources on expanding settlements in the West Bank, which is much bigger and more resource rich, excluding the gas deposits off the coast of Gaza. So that was very offensive to a significant portion of the Israeli population, which they believe that God gave them that land. God is a real estate agent, and so they've always always been zealous, always desired to resettle that land. And so with October 7th, they saw it as their big opportunity. They were really excited about what happened, because finally they can ethnically cleanse the Palestinians, go there and build settlements. So there's this sort of plausible deniability that Netanyahu has, where he says to the world, oh, no, we're not going to build settlements. This is just about security and defending ourselves from these awful terrorists. Meanwhile, Israeli society is saying, no. We are going to ethnically cleanse everyone. We're going to kill them all, and we are going to build settlements in there. So Netanyahu is, just he's lying. He's the fig leaf over this entire agenda.
Right. Yeah, it explains why, for 7 hours on October 7th, the Israeli military did nothing, right? Stood down Oh, it's a perfect catalyst. I mean, it's an absolutely brilliant, perfect catalyst to then use as justification to go after and label everyone as Hamas, grab that land, grab the minerals, grab the resource. People, wake up. I mean, don't be stupid. It's all about the money and the resources. Don't be an idiot. I mean, you even have scumbag Jared Kushner, right, who threw President Trump under the bus and aligned himself with Mike Pence, who's been making plans for Gaza for a long time. And even just a number of months ago, even publicly talked about this. So hopefully people will wake up and don't be sheep. Don't be sheep. I want everyone to read your amazing piece on the CIA. I mean, I don't know how Americans can sit by and just allow this to happen. But actually, before I get you out of here, Dan, I just want to understand the mechanics of these camps, if you could. How many people are going to be in one of these camps? Do we have an idea of the numbers? Will it be large? Will it be small? Will they be like apartment complexes? Are we talking about like housing projects in the United States? Do you know the size and scope of these?
They haven't given any of that information, those kind of details. Of course, it's very secretive. The head of the company, Moti Kahana, has posted a screenshot or two on his X account, but he hasn't really given these details. And of course, we just regular citizens, we're not privy to those kinds of details. That's for Jake Sullivan, who's basically our president at this point. So they haven't said, but they want to do it neighborhood by neighborhood. So I mean, it's considering there's 2 million plus Palestinians in Gaza. This is quite a serious project that they want to undertake. But I think, we can look to a more kind of like what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, what the U.S. did, and Fallujah, for example, where they basically try to create sterile zones where there's no resistance. The Palestinians are totally pacified, do not have any way to resist. And if they try to protest or rise up, they'll basically be the mercenaries will use crowd control methods. They have said this, we'll use rubber bullets and tear gas and fire in the air. And then if we need to, we'll do worse. So then they'll just massacre people. So this is basically what it's setting up for, is to put these people in concentration camps with using biometric ID identification for them to go in and out and receive aid. And if they don't go along with it, then, they'll suffer the worst consequences.
Well, Anthony Blinken just arrived in Israel overnight to deliver another $5 billion in aid from the Biden administration while Americans are suffering at home. So are you guys okay with that? Everyone watching right now, let me know in the comments below. Dan, great to see you from Uncaptured Media. Read his great piece on this CIA bombshell. Dan, great to see you as always.
Always good to be with you.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
His piece is doing gangbusters. You can find it on his Uncaptured Media. At least 700,000 views to that tweet alone. So I'm glad to see people paying attention to Dan's great work. He gets in the weeds where the most of us would not even imagine.
But he just got back from Israel where he was, we saw what just happened to a whole group of other journalists. Good news. Jeremy Lafredo was just released by the Israeli military and is on his way. I think he maybe just got back home already. So very, very dangerous work trying to tell the truth. So thank you so much, Dan, one of the great journalists out there. So thank you, Dan.
Some fantastic super chats and Rumble rants have come in about that piece and our earlier pieces. So if you have something to say to us, we're going to get to that in a second. So go ahead and do that. In the meantime, while you consider that and we consider your comments, I want to tell you about our friends over at Tax Network USA, because the October 15th deadline has passed. Are you prepared for what's coming? If perhaps you owe back taxes or your taxes are still unfiled, well, now that October 15th is behind us, the IRS will be ramping up enforcement, and you could face wage garnishment, frozen bank accounts, or even property seizures if you haven't taken action yet. But there's still hope. Tax Network USA has helped taxpayers save over $1 billion in tax debt and has filed over 10,000 tax returns. And they specialize in helping people like you reduce their tax burdens, and they can help you too. So don't wait any longer. Visit tnusa.com/redacted or give them a call for a free consultation, and it's anonymous. They won't save your data. They won't report you to the IRS. In fact, they're here to help you against the IRS. So give them a call at 1-800-958-1000 for a free consultation. You'll talk to their experts and just answer a few questions, and they can estimate how much you can save by having someone on your side against the IRS before the IRS becomes the aggressor. So take control today. Call them 800-958-1000 or go to tnusa.com/redacted.
Linda in our chat says, Linda says, yeah, Dan Cohen, the journalist you just saw there, is a Jew. Yes, he is Jewish. He's not a Zionist, she says. Linda says, Dan is a Jew, not a Zionist. Educate yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. He's an educated Jew who can't stand the Zionist regime.
And Dan is against all war as well. He also has some great context on Ukraine as well. He's one of the first people I go to when there's something that I simply don't understand about this conflict, because this is not new to him. I know a lot of people are sort of waking up to this conflict in the wake of October 7th, but this is not something that this is not his first rodeo.
No, he's done quite a bit in documentary on Gaza. He's been there. He spent many months in Gaza and a long time there. So anyway, all right, let's take some of your super chats here. David, you want to throw some up on the screen, or how does this work today? Did we lose David?
Yep, coming up here.
There's Sailing Prepper Dark Secret says, so again, camps in Gaza never learned our lesson in World War II. Yeah, or Vietnam, or everywhere else where we've set up concentration camps.
Japanese internment camps. This is not new.
Or like what we set up in Iraq, frankly. I mean, that's exactly what Daniel Davis was just talking about this morning, that this doesn't work. This is not going to work. This is absolutely going to be a disaster. And the idea, at least in Iraq, was, well, we've completely sort of like wiped out the threat, I guess. And now we're going to set up these housing complexes under mass surveillance and biometrics and all of this stuff. Well, what? You haven't done anything to Hamas. Like, Hamas is not just one person. Hamas is an idea, and it's there, and it's the same, as Dan pointed out. You haven't done anything to Hamas. Yeah. So you're going to build these concentration camps and think that that people are going to be passive, living under some sort of apartheid authoritarian control?
Well, right. And Michael Scheuer, who wrote the book Incredible Hubris, that we've spoken about a few times, he's a former CIA analyst who specialized in Afghanistan, warned us that our alliance with Israel only inspires more terror, says that these groups, one of their greatest honors, they prepare themselves to be either imprisoned or killed by the Zionist or the U.S. Army. They're not afraid of it. It's not a deterrent. So when you show like, oh, we've captured this major guy, major Hezbollah leader, major Hamas leader, that's not a deterrent for them. It only inspires more. And in fact, in the wake of 9/11, Al-Qaeda had so many people inspired by this cause that what did they do? They had to turn away people, send them out of Afghanistan. They had so many fighters. Consider this. Consider that this happens. We don't see it. We don't get to see it unless we read a book of someone who's an intelligence expert. They keep it from us.
Yeah, they hide it from us, of course. You're not going to see it on the mainstream media. They want you to remain stupid is frankly what they want. They really don't want you educated in this topic at all. Thank you, VL Tube. Joel Skousen versus Chase Oliver for president. Thank you, VL. I appreciate that. Victor Mobley, George Washington would already have heads rolling over this. We have to do something if we hope to end this. And of course, Victor is talking about isolationism, the dirty word of non-interventionism,
right?
And allowing this to happen. I mean, George Washington wouldn't recognize this country if he were alive today. Neither would Thomas Jefferson or any of the founding fathers.
What was the quote? John Quincy Adams, "We do not go in search of monsters. We believe in liberty for everybody, and we leave it as they want it." Basically, it was I
don't know if that was John Quincy Adams, but
I can't remember exactly. I'll find it. Have it in my book.
John DeLeo says both candidates are going to allow American men and women to die for Israel. Yeah, that's the real rub here, John. If you're talking about just the two candidates, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, I mean, it appears that they're both in the tank for Israel. So maybe Donald Trump would stop this and demand a ceasefire.
Well, they're both using the same language. Israel has a right to defend itself, and we are going to continue to support Israel.
And you see, Speaker Johnson, Republican leader in the House, saying we stand. He's like, I called my friend BB last night. We stand with our friends in Israel. We stand with the Israeli government. So they're all bought and paid for. There are very few of these guys that aren't paid for. And I just hope that Trump doesn't surround himself. I hope Trump surrounds himself with pro-America people rather than pro-other country people. So we'll see.
But they're saying the same thing. We want a ceasefire. We want the war to end. They don't exactly say how, because you don't want that if you continue to send the bullets.
Yeah. Lewis Block, thank you for your $2 super chat. I appreciate it. Nice backdrop there.
Oh, this is from M, who continued to send super chats asking us to read the Iron Dome of America, the Iron Curtain over America. And I, in fact, did read it. And he says, thank you for doing that. I think you and Clayton are almost ready to learn about the greatest lie ever told about World War.
It's cut off.
Is there more? Two?
World War.
Any world war.
Well, I think we've uncovered, we've talked quite a bit about all of the lies leading up to World War II. I mean, how we knew we were about to be attacked on Pearl Harbor and did nothing about it. In fact, encouraged it to happen.
Sent ships in fact, according to that book. Right. And he has press reports about that very thing and talks about how there were opportunities for peace before World War II. And after World War I, how we decided to treat Germany like a redheaded stepchild that we put in the corner, knowing that would lead to escalation of more war. So if you have more books for me to read, I will read them. That one was wild.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people understand what the Treaty of Versailles did after World War I.
I don't think so, Clayton. I don't think a lot of people understand that. I think you understand that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Peter Keddy or Ked? Thank you. 11 euros. We appreciate it. Says, when can we say without punishment that mass murder is being committed in Gaza? Well, you just said it, Peter. You won't be, by the way, we won't punish you for telling the truth on our show. But you will find that there are going to be people who are like, no matter what, they're American, but they're just pro-Israel. They put Israel first, and they will not look at facts. They'll just put their emotion beyond that. That's why we like to have on guests like Dan Cohen, who's Jewish and who's fact-based, and who will put up not sensational garbage. It's amazing to watch. Yeah, he went there. And other great journalists, I mean, we have no agenda other than the truth on this show. We'll tell you the truth about how Israel created Hamas and how the United States funded Hamas. In fact, armed them for the first time. They didn't have guns until we armed them.
That's a familiar story. Have you ever heard, Clayton, of ISIS?
Or Al-Qaeda?
Or Al-Qaeda or Al-Nusra?
We do this. It's a beautiful strategy, right? It's a brilliant strategy because then we arm them, we create Hamas, we radicalize them, and then we use them as justification to level Gaza, right? This is exactly what we want. We do this in other countries. We did it in Iraq. We'll do it in Afghanistan. We do it all we did in Libya, for crying out loud. So it's a strategy that's worked.
And if it weren't for people like Dan, there's no major news network over there on the ground. And if they are, they're not trying to get to any truth. They're doing, press junkets and stuff like that. But there's no mainstream media there at all.
Yeah. Well, not in Gaza anyway. I mean, 120 of those journalists have been targeted and killed. So it's the largest number of journalists killed in the 21st century, by the way, in any war. It's unbelievable. This is happening right now. Over 120 journalists have been killed.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Heidi says, thanks, Clayton and Natalie, for your great show. Big fan from Amsterdam. Nice to see you. Thank you
very much. From Paul Sinkins, my first live show from the UK. I'm usually in bed by 9 p.m. Or 4 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday. So a great show. Many thanks.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks so much. From Megan Dempsey, watch the Sean Ryan podcast, number 138. Mentions about Biden flying over to assess damage and then forgetting he even flew over it. Yikes. Okay. Which damage do you think we're talking about? Possibly
Asheville.
Asheville?
Probably
okay.
Asheville, yeah.
All right.
I would think.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Yeah.
Glenn Donaldson. It's very sad that the world would be a better, safer place without the U.S. because of the totally corrupt government here. Feels like that. It feels like that. And it's maybe hotter right now because we're so acutely looking at our leaders and realizing how much we're dragged into conflicts we don't want. So maybe we'll feel a little better after the election. I don't know.
Yeah. Here, Brad Gilbert says the Canal Wars, Gurion versus Iran and Russia. Thank you for your $2 super chat. The Canal Wars. Yeah, right. Exactly. Robert Bellardine. Is it time to get our gas masks ready? I mean, I guess it depends on where you live and what if you are one of the 57,000 American soldiers that are in the Middle East right now, you better have your gas masks ready, because they are going to be used as sitting ducks and cannon fodder for this regime, these globalists who are trying to drag us into World War III right now. So, but if you're in America, maybe you won't be hit. I don't know, but I did see Health Ranger, is it Mike Adams? I think it's Mike Adams.
Yep, Mike Adams.
Mike, he tweeted today, or posted today, he said he has a theory that they're going to be using kamikaze drones to attack in the United States. And I wouldn't be surprised. It says they've been using these now throughout to be able to hit targets inside Russia. Be prepared with our wide open southern border for them to be using drones, kamikaze drones, to attack infrastructure targets inside the United States. And I wouldn't doubt it at all. All right. Next.
Okay, so yeah, I went to get the Rumble Rants, but the Rumble Rants, they don't stick around. So they send them and then they disappear and you can't access them after, so they're gone. So we had two $5. So whoever those were, thank you. I'm sorry, but I couldn't get back to them.
Oh, here we got Miss Stacy Lynn on Rumble. I can see it here. There's one that popped up here. Lord, we lift our country, our people, our brothers and sisters. We ask for your guidance, direction, and protection. Guide us, and we may come together and combat this evil among us. Yeah, there is an evil among us right now. That
was a beautiful prayer. Thank you so much. I'm saying something similar every night, especially as the election comes. So,
Mama Bear just sent one. Let's do this one. FEMA and state supplied 85,000 Louisiana families with temporary housing after Laura and Delta, some 2,000 households in travel trailers and mobile homes. Where is the Helene? Where is the Helene help? Yeah, it's a good question. We saw the thousands of trailers that were set up, the FEMA trailers, throughout that region. Like, where is this help? Mm-hmm. Where is it? I don't know. But ask the people of Asheville. Like, I just spoke to this couple this weekend who said we couldn't believe it. We're just no help. And the help that did arrive, FEMA messed with it. Like, it came from Americans sending supplies, and then FEMA got there and basically got in the way of it and screwed it up. Anyway. All right. Thank you, Scott. We appreciate it. Thanks to all of you guys for interacting with us today. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us live Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got a great guest lined up for you this rest of this week, and we have great shows lined up for you for the rest of the week as well. So have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.